Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hungry People podcast. My name is Michael Patrick Buckley, and I'm here with my co-host AJ Dybka. Today is episode 9 of the podcast. We are going to be doing part 2 of the raw food debate, and we're going to have a pretty similar structure like we did last time. Just going to go through a lot of the points that were said and a lot of the questions that were asked during the debate, and we're going to give our thoughts on it. So, AJ, what's up, dude? Good to see you.
What's up, man? Yeah, I'm excited to answer these, kind of go through the topics. I thought last week was really fun, and a lot of the people seemingly enjoyed it. So let's finish this up and get to the next thing.
Yeah, totally. I really enjoyed last week's episode. So awesome job. So the first topic for today is talking about grains and grains. And what their thoughts are on grains. Clement didn't have too much to say besides saying that we should be germinating all of our grains. And he says that enhances the nutrient flow in the body. Now, myself, I don't really know much about germination. I've only heard of it. I actually haven't even really looked into it at all. But it sounds pretty cool. I'm not sure, AJ, if you know anything about germination at all.
Well, I assume he's talking about sprouted foods.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I enjoy sprouts a lot. What's weird to me, I would ask Brian Clement this. If you take a grain that if you cooked, it's just, a starch and you get calories from, if you germinate that, are you getting the same amount of calories? I'm sure the nutrition is maybe upped, but are you getting calories from these sprouts, or is it completely changed the properties?
Right. You could probably test that under a microscope, I would assume. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure someone people know.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure that it's out there, but yeah, it definitely would be good to get his actual thoughts on it.
Well, it almost resembles like a salad or a lettuce, to where it's a low calorie source. So I'm wondering does the concentration and the cooking of you can eat so much more, does that make it more bioavailable to calories, or what kind of what's going on there?
Right.
Because you can sprout lentils, and I'm wondering if those sprouted lentils are the same calories as those cooked lentils.
Yeah.
They can argue about which one has more nutrition, but I'm interested in the calorie.
Yeah. I wonder if, with germination, do you use water? I think you do use water, right?
Mm-hmm. I think what it is you take the alfalfa seeds, and then you have them in water, and you're constantly changing the water so it's fresh.
So they're essentially just soaking in water?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, I wonder if I guess the water content wouldn't really give them a calorie source, but it does fluff them up a little bit.
And give them volume.
Right. I'm trying to think here. That's a really good question. I think you can imagine that you definitely don't get the quantity of lentils. So it's I can make a pound of lentils, but sprouting a pound, I wonder how easy that is. Or if you have to sprout them in smaller quantities for them to actually grow at a better rate, instead of sprouting them all at once.
Yeah, that's a good point. But also the question I would have is, let's say you can do half a pound cooked, half a pound sprouted.
Right.
Would you be able to physically digest the same amount that's sprouted compared to the cooked? Because everyone agrees that when you cook the food, it makes it easier to digest. It breaks down some of those cell walls and the fiber.
Right.
But if you're sprouting it, is it you can only eat so much, because it has the enzymes, but it kind of is more roughage.
Right. So then that's the thing too, is what's better? Is it so that the nutrients are enhanced in the germination and the sprouting, but is that better for us to eat, essentially? So
I think they each have their benefit.
Yeah. Right. I guess how you said it to me, it's I guess you could try both, and if you feel good doing one or the other, if you feel good doing both, then I guess they both work.
Yeah, and even the stress behind it. If one seems you feel pretty good doing either, but one's so much less stress and less work.
Right.
Probably go for that.
Right. Exactly.
If someone was worried, okay, the sprouted stuff has the enzymes, but I'd rather just eat the lentils.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest just using like Puridyne enzymes or something. Like,
Nice.
maybe it's not the exact same, but you're still uptaking your amount of enzymes, so you're not depleting if your body stores, if that's a real thing or not. But
Right. Cool. So David Wolf, he just kind of talked about how the starch in grains converts to sugar, and talking about the starch and how it's a complex carbohydrate. And then he talks about how if you sprout a grain, you'll find that its dominant element is protein. And he says that for the people who have a more protein dominant metabolism, that sprouted grains are more beneficial for them. So I guess if you cook the grain, it's more of a carbohydrate source, but if you sprout it, it's more of a protein source. That's kind of what I'm getting from what David Wolf is saying. Now, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but
well, according to Brian Clement, he says like if you sprout something, nutrition goes up, the vitamin C, the antioxidants, it goes up like 10, 15, 20, 40 times the amount originally. I don't know if that's true with the macros, or is that what it is, the macronutrients?
Yeah,
like
macros.
Fats, proteins, and carbs. I don't know if that's the same. I don't think it like tenfolds, but
right.
I don't know. Maybe the protein does go higher as a result.
That'd be pretty crazy actually if it does. And he did mention that sprouted grains are, I guess, good for cancer supposedly because they have the enzyme called protease, and the protease helps with I guess the protease is a protein splitting enzyme which helps surrounds cancer cells or helps break them down possibly.
Okay.
Which is interesting. And he did say that if you were going to include grains, that the best are like kamut, rye, and barley.
The ones no one does.
Yeah, the ones that you probably can't even find, and
the ones where our parents will be like, "What the fuck is kamut?" Like, no, people. We have to remember, people like aren't like us, where they're researching and they're finding out like sprouted corn versus organic cold pressed fucking whatever. It's like people don't know what we're talking about. There's people that don't know what organic is.
Right.
And it's just sometimes like forgive us if we're just. Sometimes I feel as though when I'm speaking, people know what I'm talking about, and people are like, "Who's Doug Graham? Who's the man? Like, what are you guys talking about?"
Right. That's why it's really nice talking to people who are in the movement, who know some of the people and who know sort of the topics that you're presenting. Even still, I'll talk to some of my friends and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'll have to say to them, "Oh, it's kind of like this, kind of like that." So it's really hard to have a full-blown conversation on stuff like this.
We highly encourage you guys, if you ever have any confusion, to chat with us. We'd love to clear up any misunderstandings or point you in the right direction if you're looking to learn more about something. Like, because you said the protease, the enzymes, I know that the Puridyne formulas, they're highly concentrated in protease. One of the reasons, I haven't heard the thing where it's like surrounding a cancer cell. I don't know if that's true, or I haven't looked into that, but I know a big part of why you should take protease enzymes is because, especially if you're having high protein food, what do all the people say? Protein's hard on the kidneys. You have too much protein, it's acidic. You can only absorb so much. Right. So if you're taking protease, protein splitting enzymes, it takes a huge burden off the kidneys. The kidneys do so much for you. They filter your blood. Possibly they filter out your lymph. I don't know if that's true. But if we can support the organs like that, we support the kidneys. Now it takes a burden off your liver. It takes a burden off your cells. So I'm all for enzymes. I think that like the hydrogen, oxygen, minerals, and the enzymes are like where it's at.
Totally.
I don't see anyone talking bad about enzymes other than Robert Morse. He has this quote where he constantly says, "If you take it, your body quits making it."
Yeah.
But Lou Corona and everyone else makes a great point where it's like, and Brian Clement, I think even, that fruits and vegetables have enzymes. Your body doesn't stop making its own enzymes as a result of eating fruits and vegetables.
Right.
So the ones we're intaking are plant-based of origin.
Right.
Now, if Robert Morse is referring to, a lot of the ones out there that are animal-based, and it's like, okay, we're taking in animal-based enzymes, which I do think that could be disruptive. But it's not clear. Everyone just spouts things out.
Right. Well, could you also say that our body was already made with the enzymes. So even if we take more, it's not like we're getting rid of the enzymes, So I've heard from people where they say, oh, well, if you take a melatonin pill, your body's going to stop producing the actual melatonin in your body, So now it has the pill coming in. It's like, oh, well, I don't got to produce it anymore because you're already giving it to me. But that's the thing with the enzymes is that really how it is, So you give your body more enzymes. Does your body just stop producing or stop using the enzymes that it has in its own body? And I think we both agree that it doesn't, that the body doesn't, like we have the enzymes already,
Well, I think that's in some processes in the body that would affect it. Like, for instance, let's say that how we discussed last week, Doug Graham says, oh, if you intake 100 milligrams of iron, but your body only needs 10, it might absorb 11.
Right.
So the body has a feedback system. And if it doesn't need, let's say you have all this sugar in your blood and you're injecting the insulin, right? It's immediately helping that sugar to get into the blood. I mean, I could see how the body realizes, well, there's not that much sugar in the blood because it had an external source of insulin. So maybe it only releases as much as it needs. And possibly over time, it weakens as a result. I don't know if that's true, but I guess it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, on the last person to speak on the grains was Doug Graham, and basically he's just not really big on grains. He's just
he wrote a book for you guys that don't know called Grain Damage, and it's like grains are for birds is like the title under it or something.
Well, I guess I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would debunk that book, but I mean, I'm sure he has some validity behind what he's saying.
I think the part I agree with, what I don't like is when any of these people, whether they're on the starch side or the raw side, is when they make these wild claims. Like I know Doug Graham, me and you and I are listening to this interview on Chef AJ, which is really good. And he says, like, if you eat a cooked protein, your body cannot use it. It doesn't know what to do with it. It can't use it. That's so ridiculous. It's absurd.
Right.
That's not true.
Well, the thing is too, is because
it would be better. Sorry, you're good.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it would be better to me and more reasonable if he said, you can use it, but it's not that it's harder to absorb. And it's not that it's harder to absorb so that you're not getting it. It's like, you're still getting it through that absorption, but the burden on the body as a result is way higher. That makes sense to me. If he's just like, the people who are eating rice and they're eating meat, they're not getting any of it. They look fucking fine.
Yeah, right.
I'm not saying it's not creating some issues with your kidneys or maybe constipation or whatever, but when they just and on the starch side too, I feel like there are some claims made where it's like you can't succeed on raw diet ever, and it's like even though it seems that way, it seems like it's really freaking hard to do. There's people doing it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, totally.
You can make it zero work. People that have ever done it. It's like, it's not true.
Yeah.
I don't know. People seem unreasonable to me.
A lot of people are. What I was going to say with the protein. I'm one of
them usually.
What I was going to say with the protein was that if you look back at our family members in generations upon generations, I'm sure they were eating cooked proteins. So like you could say that they build up the tolerance over time to take on the burden from the cooked proteins, and they just kind of pass it down to us. So for him to make that statement is probably a bit outlandish,
It's just a bit much to me. That's all.
Right. Awesome. So the next question that was brought to these three gentlemen, brought their attention, was what's essentially better? What's healthier? Which one can you thrive on more? A diet that's 100% raw fruits and veggies. So essentially a raw vegan diet.
Like an 80-10-10 diet.
Yeah, 80-10-10 diet, essentially. Or a diet that has some grains. So I guess you could say probably like a raw till. We'll just, for our own sakes, we'll just say like a raw till 4 diet.
Like a raw till 4 McDougal.
Yeah, so like still incorporating some fruits, some vegetables, but also doing potatoes and some grains.
Right. Like a starch-based diet?
Yeah, essentially. Now, Clement, so he's still big on the germination. He said the exception to the rule is that will be for those who are athletes and bodybuilders. And he made the statement that he said that he built his muscle while eating grains and beans. And he said that he wasn't going to be able to do it while eating fruit. And there is one individual in the raw vegan community, especially the detox community, who also made a similar statement like this. I know it was, or his name is the Mangotarian, John Stearns. And he's super into like iridology and cleaning out the body and detoxing the body. And I think he posts a lot of great work. It is cool to see his thoughts and see what he has to say. I'm not like 100% familiar with his whole entire story. You know, I know he's went through a lot. He's done a ton of detoxing. But from like what I can remember is that after his one big or original first detox, that in order for him to put on more weight, he had to incorporate cooked food and beans into his diet. He said he said he couldn't do it with fruit. So
it's, as someone who's been there, it was so difficult.
Yeah.
Like he did, for those of you who don't know, Mangotarian John Stearns, he did 4 months on like 3,000 calories of mango. And he would make like mango purees and eat it and drink it or whatever. But
sounds pretty good, actually.
yeah, he was using herbs. He was following like a Morse style, focusing on kidney filtration and detoxing all these lymphs and lungs and all that. And I wasn't aware, Michael Patrick brought it up to me that when he was done, you know, this guy was emaciated like a Holocaust victim from what I've seen. And you were the one that told me he wasn't able to regain the weight until he started doing like starches and beans. And my first thought, you know, as like someone who's been involved with raw, it's like, oh, the pyridine protein would have probably come in handy if he was really having an idealism of wanting to be raw. But clearly I think he looks good now. I don't know. I think when you're trying to gain weight with fruit, a lot of people are like just up the calories. I think that's, for some people, it seems to really be easy. For me, I wasn't gaining anything.
Yeah,
I was even eating cooked and it was hard. So
the thing is,
I think different people have different struggles with it, but fruit's so hard.
It's so tough with the fruit because you get to a point where you're like, I've had enough fruit. I'm done. Yeah. I don't want any more fruit. You know, I've had enough sugar. I guess that's where the variety comes in. You know, do the mangoes, do the bananas, do the great like watermelon. You can do all the different fruits, and that makes it easier instead of just like, oh, I'm only going to eat bananas and dates.
Right.
But I mean, I will say, like, if I have good fruit, like if my mangoes are amazing, like, I mean, I'll eat a ton of mangoes. You know, I'll get crazy on mangoes. I
feel that way about bananas.
Yeah. Yeah, good bananas are good too.
Like today I had like 6 pounds of organic, crisp, ripe grapes. They were good, but I was like, I'm so sick of grapes already. Like after that meal and a half, I was just like, like I'm done. Like there's no way I can do like a grape feast.
Right.
And I was even thinking about like, oh, grapes are in season. Like I'm like, okay, I can only limit to once a day after today.
Yeah, grapes, they're sometimes sour.
Like they're like sickly sweet to me. And I don't mean because bananas have more sugar, right? I'm not saying it's a sugar thing. I'm saying the type of sweetness, when you have a high water content sweetness, like a mango or a grape, in my opinion, it tastes sweeter because the ratio of water helps to make it taste that way. Like if you have a dried fruit, yes, it's sweet, but it's a different kind. As soon as you add the water back to it, it has like a different property or something. So like if I eat a banana, I know what a ripe banana is, but it's not like it tastes as sweet as like a really juicy sweet mango or grape. I feel as though that little bit more water content heightens the amount of sugariness in the taste.
Totally.
But bananas, like if I have a good bananas, I consider that as exciting as a gourmet meal.
Yeah.
I consider it like, wow, this is so good. I'm not thinking about anything else. And if that can happen with grapes, that can happen with watermelon and all this stuff. But bananas is like the main thing because it's the staple. And I didn't have that with mangoes. When I have the bananas, though, I think it's because it's lower in water. And I like that even though it's like still 80% water, it's not like super, super high water. So you get more nourishment with less volume.
Right.
And I like the texture and everything.
I feel like with the bananas, you can definitely get more down and fit more in rather than eating a fruit that's super juicy and water content-y. Super high in water content. Just because that water does fill up the gut a little quicker and you might feel more satiated because of the water. So you might not be able to eat as more. With the bananas and the dates, you can eat more.
Yeah. And it triggers more urination and things. I think that comes into play for me.
Totally. Anyway, so Doug Graham had a response to Clement saying that you build muscle by hard labor and it does not matter what you eat. So you build muscle by getting out there and putting in the work. It doesn't matter if you eat only fruit or if you eat vegetables only or whatever you eat. And honestly, I mean, I definitely disagree with Doug Graham to an extent here because,
well, he did emphasize calories, right?
Yeah. That's the thing. I didn't write that down, but that's the thing too, is that like, you do have to be eating enough food to ensure that you have the energy to put the output, to do the hard labor, So you can't just be like, oh, I'm eating 1,000 calories and I'm going to go work as hard as I possibly can. That's just not how it works. And even with me and myself, like I do notice that if I do eat more, I feel like I do have more output and I can go harder, So for some people, that might not be the case though, but I do feel like the calorie density does have something to do with the output.
Right.
So,
right. You need fuel. Right.
Yeah. So then Clements responded back basically saying that you build muscle by ripping the muscle and letting it rebuild. And then he said you would have to eat massive amounts of fruits to put on muscle. And then Clement goes on to saying that he says grains slow down the metabolism. That was, I guess, like more of a side comment. Clement did say that. But yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely think that you would have to eat a lot of fruits to build on muscle, especially because like when you do think of fruit,
job.
Yeah, fruit is like more. I mean, it definitely is a cleansing food, right, depending on the fruit that you eat. It for the most part it is though. It's like it's there to like clean you out and keep everything moving and going. Like I don't see fruit as like, oh, I'm gonna be a bodybuilder on fruit. It doesn't make any sense. If that was the case, then the fruitarian diet would be the main diet for all bodybuilders. So why isn't it the case? Why aren't all bodybuilders a fruitarian? If eating fruit is the best way to build muscle, then all bodybuilders would be on a fruitarian diet.
Yeah.
Why aren't they? Why aren't they? Maybe protein does have something to do with it. Maybe we should be eating more protein.
Right. That's one of the things Harley highlights really well that other people don't. He's like, wait, it makes you fat because of the sugar, or you're going to be a skinny, malnourished fruitarian. Like, which is it? Everyone's like, it's one or the other, or it's both. I mean, I think it can be for different people, possibly affect one or the other, but he's right. Like for people, just a blanket statement say like, fruit's going to make you fat.
Yeah, right.
People do say that.
Right.
It's like calories and sugar.
Yeah.
But then the other half of it's like, you're automatically just going to be emaciated, malnourished. I think that, I don't know, I kind of agree with that one.
Yeah.
In the long term.
Well, I mean, we know that there's just so many people out there making blanket statements that aren't necessarily true,
So, yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that because I mentioned earlier that you and I are listening to the interview with Doug Graham on Chef AJ's channel. Maybe you could put these links below too, just like you did last week.
Yeah, totally.
But we also listened to Doug Lisle rebuttaling what Doug Graham was saying.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
And even though Doug Lisle is so set on like the science and the McDougall, style of eating, and no cultures or whatever ate a raw food diet, and it's never been a thing, and blah blah blah. And he went into all of the dynamics of what makes our diet and how we evolved in different parts of the world. But what I really liked about what Lisle said was like, now, am I saying that there isn't a person who is exposed to a certain thing and maybe lost part of their microbiome, or is in a certain part of the world, or had a certain exposure, whatever, that does way better on a diet that isn't supported by all the science, and that fits their physiological requirements in where they are at this moment? Yeah, like maybe someone could do a McDougall diet, be doing horrible. Right. Then they could do a raw diet and do great, because it's like now they're getting what I call getting their needs met, but at the same time, it's not creating further issues.
Right.
So like, I respect that, because that's what I'm saying. There's no blanket statement like starch is the best or raw is the best. Like,
yeah,
you could have someone who's like, in the long run, they're not going to stay on a meat diet, but I feel as though there's people who are so sensitive to so many things. And if they start eating just meat and they start feeling better because it's not triggering something that everyone else can't pinpoint, do that. If it helps you to recover, and then you can also just eat the way you want after whatever, it's like, cool. I'm not for anyone sacrificing their lives for an idealism.
Right.
Whether it's raw or vegan or vegetarian or carcass munchers or whatever. I'm just saying, like, everyone acts like they know. Everyone acts like they know, like, this is the best political party.
Yeah.
This is the best diet. It's, like,
it's not.
It just all seems so ignorant.
Yeah. We have to look at it from an even level. We can't just say, okay, this is better, this is better, this is better. Yeah, like nutritionally speaking, you could say that one food might be a little better than another food.
Or we could say statistically, you're more likely to be problem free, but not if like this is the best end of the story. Right.
It's funny because even me myself, like I still believe in the fruits so immensely, and that's why I still eat the fruit. Although I want to do a McDougall diet, I want to do like starch, not like starch only, but like mainly 90% starch for like a month and just see what happens. And AJ, I know you're like, just do it, dude. And I'm like, I don't want to. I like my fruit.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I do that. So as we keep going into the same topic here, Doug Graham does say that being big works against him. He does not want to be big. And this essentially is all based on your goals. So like we were saying before, fruit is definitely more of a cleansing food, not a building food. So even Doug Graham is saying here, and he's proving that like he wants to stay more lean, even though he was pretty muscular, you could tell. Yeah. But I don't think he was eating only fruit.
Body fat, not muscle.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he does say in it, he's like, I'm trying to not get muscle. So I guess you're right.
Yeah. So I guess for Doug Graham, he probably wants to maybe run a little bit and whatnot. And so that's the thing, is that it really is all based on your goals and what you want to achieve. Now David Wolf flies in from the rooftops and says, he hovers in with his healing spirit and says cooked grains will 100% cause metabolic disorders. And I mean, there's another blanket statement that was said, and I think, like, yeah, you could say that. Why? Maybe does it because it slows the metabolism down? I don't know, but I don't think that's true. That like you'd have to eat an insane amount of grains to cause a metabolic disorder, and they have to be cooked improperly to cause it too. But I do see people out there who say like, hey, if you do have some kind of issue, you should stop eating grains. Limit your grains. So, mainly gut issues and digestive issues, I would say.
Up the Cheetos and lower the grains.
Yeah.
Up the Diet Coke.
Up the Snickers.
Dude, the Diet Coke has no sugar, but fucking grains,
yeah.
You better watch out.
He says that the sprouted seeds, he talks about sprouted seeds and their alkalinity. And he says that if you eat a lot of seeds, you got to have a lot of leaves. So I guess a lot of greens to balance out the acid alkaline balance. And like we were talking about last episode, we were discussing the acid alkaline balance a little bit. And from what we said is that David Wolf, he does believe in that. And I mean, I do believe in it too, a little bit. But he was definitely big on ensuring that you are balancing your body out if you are eating a lot of nuts and seeds. He only said seeds, but I'm assuming nuts could be a part of that as well. And then they talked about how there was some guy who was benching 135 100 times, and he's only eating like fruits, veggie juice, olives, and avocado.
Like partner.
Yeah, well, like didn't he? I think he came out to the stage, and he was like pretty.
That's a different guy. Is that the same guy?
I was it? I think it was. Was it?
I thought he was talking about his friend or his boyfriend, and then
maybe he was.
That other guy was a doctor, and he came up.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, yeah, I'd have to get back again and watch it. But to me, I thought the guy that was on stage was the guy they were talking about, but maybe it wasn't.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, so I think AJ's right.
That guy was pretty built.
Yeah, that guy was pretty ripped. He was pretty ripped. But it's funny, he was a doctor. He sounded like he had no clue what he was talking about. Like he sounded like he had no confidence. You know what I'm saying?
He didn't sound like he was cognitively all there, in my opinion. Like I don't know what kind of doctor he was. Is like
right. So Doug Graham comes back and he says, he's talking about protein a little bit, and this is the last statement that was made on this topic. He said, if there is insufficient protein, it is impossible to grow. Growth is inhibited with insufficient protein. He says that the diet he is promoting is very high in protein. Mm-hmm. He says the challenge he has is keeping his protein low enough. He says growing, strength, body development, recovery, growth, and repair. The limiting factor was insufficient protein. I think he was talking about like children, even in general, just insufficient protein is a limiting factor in that. So basically what he's saying is he is giving credit to protein and its benefits.
Right.
Although he's eating an 80-10-10 diet that's 10% protein. So his protein isn't really high.
Well,
so
10% is he at the max?
Yeah. So is he essentially saying that like you really only need 10% to grow? But then, I mean, let's be real, you could eat anything and you're going to get enough protein. Like, I mean, if you eat enough of it, you should get enough protein. And he's claiming that if you eat enough fruits, you could eat only fruit and you'll get enough protein. And I don't know. I just don't believe it.
Yeah. And I feel like I don't want to always get into like if you're absorbing it or not, or if you're peeing out your sugars, but like I was eating easily 2,500 calories or sometimes more on fruits.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was doing like more of like the detox type of thing. And when I got my blood test, it said I had low BUN levels, which is low amino acids to your kidneys. So it's like, did I not have it? Was I not getting enough protein from my food, or was it that the type wasn't absorbable? I can't say that for sure, but it's like clearly my kidneys, you'll usually only see this in people that have anorexia that are starving.
Oh, wow.
In world countries.
Wow. So I guess that Pyridine protein really benefited you.
Yeah.
Have you still been using it at all?
I just used up a bag. I mean, it adds up. So I think it's like $50 for a bag, and I could go through it in a week. So.
Wow. That sounds pretty like expensive. AJ, you might be on Vegan Phobic's vegan expensive compilation video soon. So you better watch what you say.
Yeah. Would everyone out there like to see him on the podcast?
I'll get Vegan Phobic right now, and I'll show him. I'll tell him what's up. Anyways, so yeah, so I don't think you're gonna see fruitarians squatting 405, and if they were out there, then please let me know. But I just don't see it. So essentially, what we got from that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like it's possible, but like people aren't sustaining.
It's
like there is outliers doing it, but it's not like it's like this is the optimum way.
Yeah. Yeah. So
like you can do it. Like, here's the thing. If you're someone who gets tons of inflammation when you work out and your recovery is terrible, but you're like, you have the desire to be really like, let's say, squatting 405 or whatever, or deadlifting. And then, okay, you find the fruit diet, you find the raw vegan. And now all of a sudden your inflammation, your C-reactive protein goes from fucking 12 to 2 or 1. And now when you work out, you can actually recover properly because your inflammation is so low, you're able to get rid of the lactic acid. Then I feel like, okay, now you have the advantage to be a lot better than you could have been otherwise.
Yeah, totally.
But if you're just like a regular person, like all these regular people are hopping on 100-day juice fast, or all these regular people are like, I'm never, ever going to have like
a potato again.
Whether it's raw, but even the people with the potatoes, the starches, it's like they'll never ever have tofu or beans or or oil or whatever, they'll never ever have it. And then it's like they're just doing it as an ideal thing. They're not doing it because like they need to clear out their arteries because they actually have had 2 heart attacks.
Right.
And yeah, that's smart. No oil, but I feel like people are doing it for the sake of doing it versus the actual result. And I feel like people who are struggling, let's say they're runners and they've been having autoimmune issues for the last 10 years as a result of having some kind of leaky gut or wheat gluten allergy, like a real one.
Right.
You go on fruit and it's like, wow, fruit makes you the most amazing runner. Well, no, I just listened to an interview with this woman who eats jelly beans and pizza. And she's one of the best ultra marathoners in the world, including men and women. She's unreal. She's doing like 300-mile races.
Wow.
So like, that's the thing. She's operating fine. But if she had started that breakdown as a result of having one of these issues, and then she addressed it and it got addressed by eating a raw diet, now she can function normal. Now she can sleep again or whatever. It's like, yeah, clearly you're going to do a lot better on that diet. Doesn't mean that everyone is going to do better on that diet.
Right. Right. Well said. Well said. To each their own. And it might take some time. It might take some accountability and discipline to actually figure out what works best. So,
and I think a perfect person that's going to be able to speak on that for us, because we're not professionals, we're not doctors. And I am kind of limited with the whole autoimmune type thing, but Dr. Benjamin, I feel like he's going to be one of the best people to ask some of this stuff to.
Yeah, I can't wait to have him on. Yeah. He's going to be awesome.
Because that's his whole thing, autoimmune.
Right. Recovering from autoimmune disease.
Right.
Let's move on. So we have 3 more topics here. This next topic is going to be pretty quick. The question, or we have 3 more questions, I guess. This one is, where do we get our energy from? And they were all very quick answers. David Wolf said that we get our energy from our spirit, our own desire and will to live. If you have no oxygen and food, your spirit will help keep you alive. I think he's just kind of like, obviously he doesn't really mean that, like, oh, if you have no oxygen, you're dead. But I feel like he just means that if you have the passion, if you have the motivation, if you have the drive to actually live,
right,
you're going to get it done.
Power.
Yeah. You're going to get there and you're going to make it happen no matter what. So,
because someone could have all the tools in the world, but they're like flip-floppy as hell.
Right.
Doesn't mean they can get it done. But if you're like, I'm going to figure this out, I don't know how, but I will.
Yeah.
That's going to give you a lot better chance.
Yeah, totally. So if you're passionate about what you love in life, that right there is going to give you energy. So have that passion, have that drive to get what you want.
Right.
Doug Graham responds with sleep. That's all he says. He says that we get our energy from sleep. And I agree. I mean, I think sleep's the battery pack to our body. Learned that from AJ. Got that from AJ, so I can't steal that quote. But
I think I learned that from Doug Graham, actually. Long time ago.
Yeah, sleep's definitely the battery, and it's very necessary to recharge it each night. It's so funny. Even still, I was listening to Chef AJ and Doug Graham's interview, and Chef AJ was saying that she was raw for a certain period of time. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I only needed like 4 hours of sleep. It was crazy. I couldn't sleep." And I honestly see that as like a detriment. I see that as like, I do believe that we should be sleeping at least 6 hours. 7, 8 hours is even better. If you can get more, then kudos to you.
Yeah, but most people, I would say that for.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're exception. Right, I feel like if you are sleeping less than like 6, it's kind of like there's something wrong. Like, I don't know. Maybe they do have so much energy. Maybe they're just like, I don't need to sleep. Maybe that is what it is. But I don't know. I just don't see it as that in that way. But
so I have 2 things to say about it. I think that there is probably a genetic component to some people sleeping less. Also, I do think that's where mindset can come into somewhat. I don't think it completely overrides a need to sleep, but people that believe they will be completely fine, and they will be completely fine on less sleep, and they don't let the anxieties of it weigh them down. I think that they can get away with a lot more. But I just wanted to say, addressing the point you made with the Chef AJ, how she started sleeping 4 hours on raw, like there's 2 different things you want to look at when it comes to this. Okay, because having less digestive burden does mean that you don't need as much sleep. And let me give you an example. Let's say you're just eating garbage and you're eating so much all day. Mm-hmm. You have to sleep like 12 hours every night. Well, if you start eating healthy and in the right amount, you might now only need 8 or 9 or 7 hours, and you actually are getting all the sleep you need.
Right.
That extra sleep was coming because you really were burdening your body with a lot of extra stress, whether it could be exercise, it could be all these things. So I think that with the raw diet, I do think that, let's say it's done right for your body and you're feeling good, you're making progress on different things, that you might require less, but it doesn't mean that less is better. So let's say you're sleeping about 8, you go on raw and you're sleeping 4. To me, that's a red flag. To me, that's like, you probably have high cortisol and high stress and not enough serotonin. But if you start eating raw and you start sleeping 7 hours and you feel way more rested, you have way more energy. I have no problem with that.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree. That's the thing. Some
people, I just want to say one more thing. Some people eat raw and they start sleeping way more. Now there's 2 more components to that. It's like, is it because it's so stressful in your body, your particular body, whether it be all the sugar or the low calories or the high calories because you're just eating fruit all day? Is it because it's stressful in the body, or is it because you can finally feel how exhausted your body is?
Right.
Now you're finally just sleeping as like much as you can get. I know when I cleared my tongue, every night I was just sleeping way more and I had way more less fight or flight. And it was just like almost like catch-up mode.
Right.
One other thing I want to throw in is when I heard Doug Graham talk about water fasting, he had a guy who came in, he put him on a water fast. He said that guy would only wake up to pee, crap, and then drink some water. And he was sleeping like 23 hours a day for the first week or 2. And then he started sleeping like 17 hours and 16. And it's not about catching up. It's about like, okay, does your body really need water? Or does it really need sleep? Okay, then give it to it.
That's the thing, dude.
And all these people who dry fast, I'm like, I'm not thirsty.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. You're clearly thirsty.
Yeah, I'm actually going to make a video on this, just a personal video and put on the channel. But sleep is definitely such an issue. And
we did a whole episode on sleep, guys.
Yeah, and we'll do more episodes on sleep. We're not sleeping enough as a society. There's just no way. We're all doing way too much. We're working too hard. I mean, but some people we have to, and we all could use the rest. And I know most people, they probably work their week jobs, and then they come to weekends and they sleep in and they get like 10, 11 hours, So yeah, sleep is, it's very important. It's one of the most underrated parts of health that no one takes care of.
I agree.
So
and it's free.
Get your sleep in, people.
We only put priority on things we spend money on. So sleep gets the back burner.
Right. It's ridiculous. Now, lastly, Clement comes in and says, energy. Oh, he says we get our energy from energy, sleep, food, and romance. He says, I guess he called himself the politician. But I mean, I can agree with the romance part and how if you are falling in love, you do have more of an energy and more of a drive to go be with that person and be up and get at it, Well,
if you ask Doug Lisle, he's like the 2 main motivators for humans is food and sex.
It's pretty good.
Unless you're a man, then it's sex, food.
I mean, hey, it sounds pretty good to me. So, I mean, I don't know. Anyways, let's move on to the second to last question here.
Let's do it.
What percentage of fruit should be in the diet is what was asked. So, Clement.
Let's get the boxing gloves.
Yeah. Clement, he gave a pretty short response. I know from earlier we talked about Clement and him saying that 15% by weight of fruit should be in your diet.
Right.
But here he says,
1 banana or something.
Yeah. Here he says a healthy person does not have a virus, a bacteria, mold, fungus, yeast, or cancer. So he goes in and talks about what talks about a healthy person. I'll say it again. A healthy person does not have a virus, bacteria, mold, fungus, yeast, or cancer. I think that's pretty
Yeah,
In
and
my
what he
opinion,
means
it's pretty
is
unreasonable
what
to
he
say.
means it's an overgrowth because we all have these things.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say that. I was just gonna say that we already have that. He says that if you have microbial problems, no fruit or very little fruit is the way to go. So I'm assuming he's saying that because of the sugar, and
Sugar.
I guess the microbes love the sugar. So there's that. Now, David Wolf, he says if someone has mold, yeast, fungus, or cancer, you need to be careful with fruits. These issues can run away on fruit. So by run away mean that they can exasperate and they can grow and they could get worse. And that's what David Wolf is saying. He's saying it's good to look at how active someone is. The more active, how healthy someone is, the bigger their sugar gas tank is, and the more fuel they can burn. So they can eat more fruits. They can use more fruits. Mm-hmm. So I guess David Wolf, he is looking at it from more of like an athlete perspective in this case, even though in the first statement he was looking at it more from like a health perspective.
Right.
Now he says eating all this fruit but not being active is detrimental. He says calcium could be called into the blood to buffer the sugar because sugar can be acidifying in the blood. I've never heard that before in my life.
Well, before I got into any of this, my former employer, he has a nutrition store, he told me that if sugar stays in the blood and it can't get out of the blood from insulin and all these things, he told me it was acidic. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's sitting in the blood creates processes that happen that are acidic, like you start releasing more insulin and that's acidic. I'm not sure about the context, but I have heard it before.
Right. Yeah, I that's why I'm big on drinking water in the morning, because especially when like us, we eat a lot of fruit. I know you've been eating a little more fruit recently. That there could be some sugar in the blood that needs washed out. And that's why like I just had the idea in my head of, okay, like if I drink water, it could help like maybe flush and pull and push some of the sugar.
Right.
Even that's some of the excess sugar that's in the blood that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, it could be looked at two ways. It's like it could be flushed, or it could now, since it has the hydration it needs, it can help to get the sugar to where it's going, like into the cell or out of the body or whatever.
Right.
I mean, I would think that the more dehydrated you are, every process, including metabolism, is strained. So think about like the strain that it has. Versus, like if you're hydrated, okay, now it's not a strain anymore.
Totally.
Like oil in a car, everything's fluid and moving.
Well said, AJ. Well said. The last statement that David Wolf says here is that he says he like, let's take a look at an Indy 500 car. He says they have to use gasoline immediately or else it will burn through the piping. And he says that like this is the same way in the human body, especially with certain fruits. So it's like when you eat the fruit, it has to be burned quick. So you got to actually go out and use the fruit. So these cars, they're using the fuel immediately, or it's going to burn through the piping, like you said. Similar with the fruit, it just kind of goes into talking about how in last episode we were saying like, okay, if you are like, we see people doing a lot of fruits, but they're not really they're not actually going out and burning the fruits. Right. They're just kind of like resting and detoxing. And is that the way to go? Maybe for some people it might work,
Well, even Doug Graham says that he doesn't have his breakfast until he's moved his body, so that because Robbie Barbaro, the guy who's mastering diabetes, and Doug Graham, these guys are high fruit guys who really focus on sugar metabolism.
Right.
They both say that, and Durian Wright, Harley, they all say that your ability to process carbohydrates and sugar is greatly improved with fitness.
100%.
So
100%.
You have those two factions, the people who are like sit in bed and detox with fruit, and then you have like move your body and burn the fuel. But then it gets confusing because people are like, do I have to exercise if I'm going to eat fruit? And then other people are like, well, no, you'll have so much energy, you'll have to exercise. But then people eat it and don't have the energy. So it's very confusing to people.
It is. I think from a logical perspective, in regards to the metabolism and digestive side of what you just said there, like what makes more sense? Let's say someone eats fruit and they're just lazy. Let's just say they're not lazy, but they're just not doing anything, and their body's stagnant. They're staying in one, they're not actually moving. So like, do you think your body is going to move too? Like what's in your body is going to move, or do you think that's going to stay stagnant too? Right. So at least if you go out and you move your body and you work out or you run or you walk or you do yoga, whatever you do, if you move your body, at least you would think, logically speaking, that the food in your body will move better as well. And it might be better to process the food. So that's kind of like a way to look at it as well from a simplistic and logical perspective.
Well said.
Thank you. Lastly, Doug Graham, he comments on the question of percentage of fruit in the diet. And he says it's good to look at percentage of fruit in the diet from proteins, fats, and carbs, and not by what Clement or David Wolf is saying. He says that the International Olympic Committee, as well as the U.S. Olympic Committee, recommends 60% carbohydrate. Doug Graham says 80% carbohydrate, but if you have any health issues, to lower the calories, or if you're just an average person and you don't do very much, I guess, and you're just working, lower the calories. And then what I have written down here is that he does say that if someone lowers the fruit, that it would be beneficial to up the grains for a calorie source. Yeah. So I'm assuming that'd be for an athlete though. I don't think he'd be saying that for just an average person.
Right. So just to clarify, Doug Graham is saying that the fruit percentage of your diet stays the same. It just goes up and down based on your caloric needs, whether you're an athlete or you weigh more.
Yep. 100%. 100%. And he's basically saying that like these Olympic committees are saying pretty similar statements in regards to what Doug Graham is saying. You know, I'm not sure what the committee's saying
60,
in regards to.
To me, 60 sounds a lot less than 80.
Yeah, I guess
it's that small.
Right.
That's a huge.
Well, that's the thing is that Doug Graham was making it seem like, oh, they're so close, they're so similar, you know. But I guess so I guess like 60%, maybe it's like 60, 30, 10, 60% carbs, 30% protein, 10% fat, or 60, 20, 20, whatever. I would assume that these committees would also be saying keep your fat low if you're doing more of a high carbohydrate diet. So I'm just assuming that more.
But when I was thinking the next one, you know how we reviewed what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do this for the end, but real quickly, I feel like we could discuss Doug Graham and Doug Lisle's interviews as do a review of that, because
we'll do it.
Like saying 20% isn't that different. That's a huge difference. And I just thought of Lisle, how he's saying like 1% difference in genes is a huge difference.
Yeah.
It's not like it's this little insignificant thing. I just feel the same way about this.
I'm more than happy to do that. I already can't wait to do it. I love this. Yeah. I mean, AJ and I when we're together, we'll sit and just watch Lisle videos and McDougall videos and all these kind of videos just to learn and just see what they have to say, you know? So, so that's a good point. I guess there definitely is a difference in percentage of carbohydrates if it's 20%. That's a big difference. So
because Doug Graham also says that 10% fat and protein is the high end. He's like, you want less than that.
Yeah.
But it's like a generalization.
Right.
So like 10% versus 20 or 30% is literally double or triple, which is a huge difference.
Good point. Now the last topic, the last question, I guess this is more of a topic that was brought up. And I don't know too much on it. I feel like it is a very controversial topic. And with these three, it was very controversial. And they definitely disagreed. This topic is Candida. And
before you say it, I actually agree with all of them, I think.
Yeah,
in different ways.
Yeah, I do too. Now I can just go through and just say what they said for the most part, and then we can talk about it after if that's cool.
Do that.
So there is a good page, about a page and a half here. So Clement says that fungi is everywhere, and he says that our immune system can no longer prevent the omnipresent Candida. He says the weaker our immune system becomes, the Candida multiplies. And he just goes into talking about what part or what environment does fungi thrive in. He says that the fungi thrive in dark, low oxygen, wet, warm, and sugary environments. So now in his case, you would think, okay, no sugar, get rid of the sugar if you have Candida. And he does talk about
that your body's wet and warm. So
right. That's going to happen.
No point in saying.
Yeah. And essentially what he was saying too is that like our immune systems have somewhat become weaker over time, and that if you do have a weak immune system, that this fungus can take over. David Wolf says you can find the Candida in our digestive tract, the mouth, and vaginal yeast infections in toenails and fingernails. And I'll even say for myself, I've had fungus in my toenails legit. I know it sounds gross, but I've had it legit my whole entire life. I've done so much to try to get rid of it, and I know it sounds gross, but anyways, I guess I'm not healthy. I'm not healthy. Doug Graham, he says the goal is to reduce the swings in blood sugar. So reduce the swings in your blood sugar levels. He says people in hospital remain in homeostasis with an IV and sugar solution, a drip every so often. So I'm not sure what kind of people he was talking about. I'm not sure if it was diabetics or just unhealthy people, but he says that these people do better when they have sugar coming in every so often. But I think in that solution, he says an IV and sugar solution. I'm sure there's sodium in there as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure it's like sugar and salt that these people are getting. And he says that they do better when they have the drip so often. And on the interview or on the debate, they're just going back and they're kind of just going back and forth here. So my apologies if you guys get confused. Now back to Clement. Clement says, increase the elements that decrease the ways fungus thrive. So he says the number one way to do that is sun-drenched, non-sugar-based foods. The most sun-drenched food that brings in OH1 peroxide, I think he says. OH1 peroxide oxygens into the body are chlorophyll foods. And he says you must eliminate all forms of sugar and cooked grains. Doug Graham says high fruit just says the complete opposite of what Clement says. He says high fruit diet to fix fungus issues. It's not the consumption of fruits, but rather the swings in blood sugar, like you said before. If Candida thrives off sugar, then there is no hope because everyone has blood sugar. And I thought that was like spot on. Right. Like we all have blood sugar. So we would all be.
And I actually agree and like the whole like slow and steady metabolism of sugar versus like, let's say you do have like bad blood sugar.
Yeah.
And you haven't addressed the fat issue, whether it's your diet fat or your fat in your body. So you're having these high blood sugars. It seems a lot smarter to me if you're having metabolism of sugar issues to slowly graze or, introduce it slowly versus like having 1,000 calories of apples and dates or something.
Right.
You're going to have these bigger swings. And if the Candida really is a result of being run down and weak hormones and dehydration, blah, 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 you don't stress the body out more.
Right.
You gently lift it up. And I feel like that. So I agree a lot with what Doug Graham said.
Totally. I do too. David,
but I do think that if you're avoiding those triggers by the sugar and you're actually getting enough nutrition from other things, whether it's starches or microgreens or whatever, if you're actually meeting the body's needs and you're going to probably feel immediately better because you're not aggravating that thing.
Right. No, I totally agree. David Wolf comes in and says, eliminate the sugar, then hop back on low sugar fruits, then fast from sugar again. So I guess like, don't do any sugar and then bring the sugar back in a little bit and then go off sugar again to, I guess, see what happens, see how you feel, see if there's any issues still. And then David Graham has the last point on this topic here. He says, if we want an immediate resolution of Candida, we want a drop in blood sugar. This can be achieved most expeditiously by eliminating food from the program completely. So what would that be? Water fasting. So he says water, air, and rest is the best way to do that. He says blood sugar levels will drop. sometimes 20 to 30%. He says sometimes it'll drop and come back up, just depending on the person. But he says no matter what you eat, your body converts it into sugar and you maintain blood sugar. So even the people who do a high-fat keto diet, that their body does convert that into sugar so that it maintains a homeostasis in blood sugar.
Sure, but the thing is, if he's saying the swings are the problem, but hey, you're going to turn anything into sugar. But if you're turning those things that are hard, like if that thing that you had, technically isn't a fruit or whatever, but it's converted into sugar, I'm sure the process is that gentleness that he's talking about.
Right.
So let's say you're eating a bunch of salad. Let's say you eat 300 calories of salad and it's eventually turned into sugar. That's way more gentle on the whole spike like he's talking about.
Right.
So, I mean, yes, it's the same, but I think the process does count for something.
Totally. It's funny you say that because he says you could do all greens, which is very low in calories, and you will see a drop in blood sugar. So essentially from what he's saying there is that if you want to get rid of Candida, this is Doug Graham, he says you gotta get your blood sugar to drop.
Right.
So
because for those of you who don't know, Candida is like a fungus, I believe, that gobbles up excess blood sugar because it can't just stay in the blood. So from what he's saying, if you drop it down to normal levels, they have nothing to feed on and they're going to get more diminished over time.
Totally. If it takes more than 2 or 3 weeks to solve the problem, then you're not solving the problem. So if you do have an overgrowth of Candida and you've gotten tested and you really do have it and it's bad and you've seen reactions from it, if you're not solving it in 2 or 3 weeks, then whatever you're doing is not correct.
You should at least see an improvement.
Yeah. And then the last statement he makes is he says that that fat could exacerbate the issue. And I think we know that if you are doing a high sugar and a high fat diet, that's going to cause some issues, Yeah,
because sugar makes it difficult to metabolize. I mean, fat makes it difficult for sugar to metabolize.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then before we finish up, any more thoughts on Candida here? They do go a little longer with the debate, and they actually bring up women. A woman asks a question. I think it was about the menstrual cycle or something. And then another lady, I think she's been a raw vegan for so many years. She comes on and she talks about some stuff with women and their health issues. And just one of the statements that she made that stuck with me was that it's good. Or what she does is she does a cleanse 4 times a year. Okay. So I'm assuming that she does a cleanse every time the seasons change. That's what I'm assuming. I'm not sure what kind of cleanse she does. I don't know if it's an all fruit cleanse or a 72-hour fast if you don't eat, or a water fast. I'm not sure, but honestly, I could definitely agree with doing some sort of cleanse every, not oh, you got to do it once a week, but every 5 months, maybe every 4 months. I haven't done that myself, but I could definitely see a benefit from doing that, just to help clean out a little bit. So anyways, yeah, back to the Candida. AJ, I'm not sure if you had any more thoughts on that. Yeah. So it's really just interesting to hear their thoughts on how to get rid of it. And it's just crazy that they're not crazy, but it's just wow, there's no, there's not much similarity in what they're saying here.
Right.
And
very different.
It's just how can one say that I'll get rid of all sugar and the other says, no, do all sugar, and you know what? Maybe they both work, or maybe it is just go on a water fast and get rid of it. So,
right. Well, I just want to say that there's always more than one way to solve a problem. It's not that in my opinion, it's not that one's contradicting the other. It's just one is doing it a different way. You can lay an asphalt road and you can lay a paver road. There's all different ways to do it. And then you can argue which one's better, which one's going to last longer, which one's sustainable, which one's affordable.
Right.
But from what I'm hearing, one is saying you're eliminating the sugar so that you're having a drop in blood sugar. And then the other one's saying implement the sugar the right way so that you're not having the spike and you can lower that blood sugar. So they're both agreeing in a sense. They're not saying that, they're not one isn't saying have as much fruit all day as possible.
Yeah.
And the other one's saying never, ever have any carbohydrate ever.
Right. Totally. Good stuff. Awesome. Well, AJ, that is all I have for today's episode. If you have anything else, please share.
I think we did a great job.
Yeah. Awesome talk. I really enjoyed that. And I'm definitely going to be excited for talking about the differences and similarities with Dr. Doug Lisle and Dr. Doug Graham on their interviews with Chef AJ. Yeah. And I'm sure I hope that people would be interested as well to hear our thoughts. So anyways, AJ,
have to have Doug Graham and have Doug Lisle on the podcast so people start to see who they are and
right.
How to have more of a grasp on there.
Right. We'll get him on.
Doug Graham might be at Woodstock, so if he
really?
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I hope to see him there. Awesome. Well, anyways, if you guys got to this point in the podcast, thank you very much for listening. We both really appreciate it. I always see people say, like, if you want to support us, I guess, like, write a review or give us a rating or subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video. That's definitely the best way. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that, do you usually put the link for the podcast under the YouTube channel?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys, it would really help us out if you clicked on the link. Like if you watch it on Apple Music or what else is there? Spotify,
Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast.
Okay. If you guys watch it on there, listen to the podcast on there, it really goes a long way in getting people to actually see us through recommendations. Right. If you leave a review, it would just be huge. Leave your honest thoughts, whether you
totally
love us or hate us.
Right.
We will see you next week.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Great job, AJ.
MP.
Hey, be great. Hey, stay out, be great. Always keep it 100, baby. You know what it is.
I was going to say, MP, stay hungry.
My bad. I interrupted you there. Hey, props, plants.
Props, plants.